And so I know we're at 3:15, but we have some very good questions from the audience, and so I want to get to at least a couple of those. So the first question, so what kind of challenges have you all faced when hiring a team, if at all? Is there an event you could tell us about, tell the audience about, that was a lesson learned, whether it's what to do or what not to do?
Yeah, let me take that one. The lesson is always hire it sounds a little critical, always hire your own team. And the mistake you'll often make is taking too long rather than doing it early enough. So the mistakes I've made are inheriting a team and personnel and working very hard to make sure that they have an opportunity to improve and grow. But my mistake has been waiting too long to see improvement and make changes within my own staff. I think, you have to be honest with yourself and get other people that will be honest with you as well and make those changes. But when it comes to hiring a team and the challenges of hiring a team, because I'm not exactly sure the direction of the question, hiring is a conversation. I don't take a very formal view of the interviewing process. It's probably different than a lot of people experience today because there's, to get it through the gates online, to get through the online resume bots and all that thing is a difficult thing, but it's a series of conversations. So when you're hiring your own team or when you're wanting to be hired onto a team, if you're looking for a job, it comes down to simple metrics. You got to measure yourself. How many contacts and, meaningful contacts am I making every day? And how do I just have a real be my genuine self and have a genuine conversation with people, whether it's over the phone or via email or video or in person. And I think that's all you can focus on when you're looking for a job. And frankly, that's all you can focus on when you're trying to hire. Know where you want to go, be transparent with that person and have a real genuine conversation and get to their genuine self to build a team or try to join a team.
Thanks, Brent. Chip or Nicole, you want to address that one?
I'll jump in real quick. It's just very interesting. I remember a guy by the name of Scott Page who wrote a book called The Difference, and it talks about how teams are formed and how you should look at them in society and business and so forth. And he brought up this situation about hiring, looking at 3 applicants, one named John, Jim, and Jane. And they all took a test. And the test said that Jim and John got 6/10 of the questions right. And John and Jane got 4 to 10 questions right. And the way that traditional American capitalist society is that hire the person that gets 6 out of 10 questions right, and that's your team. But he said, look at it differently. And the book's called The Difference. He said, if Jane got the questions right that Jim and John got wrong, why don't you hire John and Jane? Because it's about people in different perspectives about trying to get that the actual product right. So one thing I had to learn is that, sometimes you hire yourself, and that's not the best thing, is that there are things about me that I know I'm really good at, but you need someone that's very stronger in different areas than you. So I really took to that to heart. The book's called The Difference by Scott Page. I met him at Emory last year. We're friends on Facebook now, but really looking at your team. But also what Brent said is that, you know what? You got to bring on people, but also that, you got to pull the trigger. I learned from one of my friends' bosses said, you know what? You can work, but you just can't work here. All right. Sometimes it's like, this is not going to work. This is the way I need you to be. And you got to feel comfortable of letting go and saying this is not a thing. So I echo what Brent was talking about.
Yeah. Thank you.
Actually, I'm just in the process. So I just doubled my team this week because of the surge of requests that we're getting. And I can tell you that some of the challenges that I faced while hiring a team was like having enough capital to like scale my business, right? So something that a lot of people don't tell you is that like, you start consulting or you start your small business and you have a little bit of capital and you like need to use it for like operating expenses, and you need to pay yourself and you need to pay taxes and you need to, you know, dedicate some to profit, right? And so I was doing really well. Like I had like all this capital, but it wasn't necessarily enough capital to bring on more people. And so I found it really challenging to kind of balance, like, okay, I know we have all these contracts in the works, but you know, no one has paid a deposit yet. And yet I still have all this, like once these projects hit, once the deposit clears, like we need to go, we need to start. And I don't have the capacity, you know, to do it all by myself. So like I need a team, but it's that like literally like, I'm at the limit of the amount of work that I can do by myself, but I don't have enough capital. So like, how do I like, it's like this balancing act, right? So one of the options, because my business is like, it's different. So it's not, I'm not looking for like investors. I'm not looking to have like, I'm not looking to sell my company at any point, right? Which might be different from someone who's like selling products or anything like that, right? I had to have, you know, a different way to finance my business. So far, I haven't raised any capital, but one thing that I am considering now is having a business loan, right? Because we have a lot of projects in the works, and I know that financially we can take on a loan, a business loan, and pay that off, you know, over time without a problem, right? And so that's one of the options that I had to consider, but that was kind of a scary option because all I know about loans are student loans and nobody forgives those. The only way is by dying. So I was like, I don't want to have another, you know, another debt, you know, whatever. But this is actually something that I had to educate myself on and say, okay, this is the best option available to me right now so that I can actually grow, because otherwise I'm going to be stuck here at this level.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. We're gonna keep going because we've got some good questions here. This one, do you believe that there is a difference between being formally educated and being smart? Are these two things mutually exclusive? Is one smart or skilled because they are formally educated or not?
Let me see if I can't put this one to bed quickly. It's irrelevant. The only thing that matters is perseverance. Look, I don't care whether you're book smart, you're street smart, you're whatever. At the end of the day, success comes from battling through adversity and deciding you're going to do it no matter come what may. Entrepreneurship is equal parts passion, perseverance, and versatility. The education and the experiences give you the versatility. The rest of the passion, the perseverance come from you. So if 2/3 of the problem is your mindset and probably more than that, don't worry about whether you're smart. Don't worry about whether somebody else is smart. Worry about whether you have the guts to get through.
Said it all.
Yeah, well said, Nicole. Anything to add to that one?
I just personally don't, you know, I've seen many highly intelligent, highly creative people in my life, and in my community who are not formally educated, or, I wouldn't even say not educated, right? Because people can be very educated, just not have a degree, right? So I don't personally, you know, attribute much to that, but aside from that, I don't.
Right. It's your own path. If you came with an education or however, every one of us is different. So there is no formula for education or smart.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, we have another question. So for those who are currently working but have a consulting idea, any advice on how to build a potential network while also being honest with your current employer? Securing a first client feels like a quandary.
Well, it is. And frankly, a lot of the consulting businesses get born out of a more natural question. You know, people, you have a lot of conversations with people and someone says, hey, if you've got that kind of experience, can you come help speak to this person or talk to this person? And you say, yeah, but I'm just not going to do it for free. So, you know, I think that it can be born out of that. First client comes from a more natural just have a lot of conversations, and the quandary tends to take care of itself, because then it's not dishonest to your current employer. You know, just have a lot of conversations. And if there's a marketplace for what your skill set and ideas are, it will start to manifest itself in a request. Can you have another conversation? And then it becomes a lot more natural, a lot easier to handle with your current employers.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this has been great, and we're at 3:25, but I'm gonna maybe just ask one more question, and want to hear from all of the panelists. And the challenge is going to be narrowing down which one, but I think let's maybe end with one piece of advice that you would offer those in the audience who are either considering pursuing an advanced degree, which we know there are a number of them, or starting a new venture. And if you want to combine those two things, that's fine too. So let's end with a piece of advice from each of you for this audience.
Okay.
I'll start quick. If you want to start a business, there are a lot of places that give free services, such as there's something used to be called the Executive Service Corps. I know it's changed its name, but it would have senior members in different business or nonprofit fields and so forth that will be available for very, very, very limited dollars. These are senior core members that will help you formulate many different things about doing that. One thing I was able to do was I had my co-chair of my nonprofit was a guy by the name of Charles Ogletree, and he worked at Harvard Law School, and he was a professor at Harvard Law School. So in order to do my incorporation papers and all that, I just gave it to his students, and they did it in 2 weeks, and we were incorporated in 2.5 months and so forth. It had a 501c3 status. So it's very important to know who your networks are and also using those, but also ask questions. If you have a cousin, an uncle, or aunt, a neighbor down the street that did something like this or had a master's degree, talk to them, ask for help. I think the thing is that, when you're thinking about applying to these schools, I have students that apply to some of these graduate schools, and they don't want to ask for help around their essays because they're used to doing it themselves all the time because their parents are not going to help. Ask your friend, ask your cousin, ask a former professor just to read it over, give advice, and just be there as a resource. And sometimes you should get 10 or 15 people on the line, friends of yours. You can do it now on Zoom. You can do it on Instagram, and just say, this is my business idea. What do you think about it? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's viable? It's not. Do that kind of market research before you start and get that feedback. I think that's just very helpful. And I just think people should just really ask for help if they need it.
Great advice.
Oh, and the last thing is that one thing is that I was lucky to have with my nonprofit is I had, since I worked in the foundation field, remember I worked in the foundation field for 4 years. So I had networks when I said I was ready to jump out there. I had a donor come in the door with $200,000 flat out and said, here, and here I am I want to help you start this thing. So being able to be in those networks and resources is very valuable compared to, I didn't have to, Nicole, I hear what you're talking about. I didn't have to put my own money out before that, but I had this network that I was cultivating for 4 years that I was able to raise $250,000 in 3 months to actually start that and hire on staff. And the scariest thing, as you guys all know, is hiring staff. And that was the biggest nightmare. And I never missed a payroll. I'm so happy for the 12 years I ran a nonprofit. But the scariest thing in your head is, am I going to be able to pay my staff? And that's one thing I was able to say. I never missed a payroll. But that's very lucky. But that's the scariest thing. And I bet Brent knows that work from building companies, taking away companies, and starting companies up. Am I going to be able to pay my staff?
Nicole, you want to go?
So I really like that advice. There's this website called score.org.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
So in terms of like remote mentoring, free mentoring, right? And I think also using the resources at your disposal. A lot of times, like students are not aware what resources are on campus. I know I stumbled into career counseling like it was a huge coincidence. I didn't even know like what it was really about. And that turned out to be like my saving grace. Right. And so I think that like, you know, the Entrepreneurship Institute, they have, I know, cause I'm on the email list. I get all these, like, there are all these webinars and there's all these, you know, panels and stuff like that. And they had like all these resources. I mean, I think they even had a person who was, who had like office hours, and you could just go and ask them anything. I don't know if they're still doing that, you know, virtually, but if they are, like, please let me know, because I will probably ask them something. But I think that mentoring is like, it's really important. Sorry?
We can help you with that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I think just like, taking a second to look at the resources and even just like reaching out to people. It's too bad that a lot of this has to happen in isolation right now, because normally, like, if you're on campus, you can just walk into the office of somebody and be like, hey, do you have a minute? Like, can I talk to you? Can I ask you some questions? So now it might be like an email that you send to somebody that you found them on a website, you know, for the Entrepreneurship Institute or CASA or something. Right. And so, but it behooves you, right, to have that, to kind of go after those things and to look at what resources are available to you. Because I had access as a student, I had access to career counseling, for instance, up to a year after I graduated. Yeah. So I was able to take full advantage of that, right? And like, once you leave that world of being a student, things are not free anymore, you know, and it's very expensive to get a career coach or an entrepreneurship coach. So definitely take advantage, like take a look at what is available. If it's too overwhelming, reach out to someone and try to go from there.
Yeah. Jennifer, to your question about, you know, if you're considering pursuing an advanced degree or considering starting a business or both, what's the best advice we can give? Of course, there's a lot, but I will tell you from my experience, the advanced degree, and maybe Nicole would even say the same thing for different reasons. My advanced degrees were tremendously helpful in opening doors for me, number one. And number two, when I think about the Georgia State, you know, when I have MBA with concentration in finance, I'm like the biggest cheerleader, because I literally use some of those skills every single day in what I do. Now, I couldn't have told you that going in. I knew that I kind of needed it, but I couldn't have told you the value that they had or how they were going to help me. And you have to have a little bit of faith in that regard. But I would absolutely advocate pursuing advanced degrees. That doesn't mean it's to the exclusion of work, because I worked all the time through my advanced degrees. So I think the value of those is tremendous. And when it comes to starting a venture, you can be an entrepreneur and not start a new company. I'm a guy that took a customer, an airplane company with 90 customers and a little bit of revenue, losing $25 million a year, to the best-selling airplane in the world grew it tenfold in 6 years, And the point is, I wasn't the guy that was going to jump off a cliff and start that company myself. That wasn't my personality. But I am the guy that sees something that's not performing to its satisfaction or to its ultimate capability and takes it from level A to B, C, D. And that's the way I've built my career all the way along. It wasn't until 2015 that I started my own company, which was a consulting company, pretty easy to do, but just recently started. No one knows about it yet because I'm keeping it a secret until I get it out there. In fact, to one of the questions, until I get everything trademarked and copyrighted, that I started a company from zero, and I'm still the only employee. So you don't have to be, entrepreneurship means a lot of different things. My advanced degree was really important to me because it both opened doors but gave me skill sets. But when I think about how I've applied it to entrepreneurially drive innovation and a new culture and a mindset into companies that otherwise they were not doing well, or maybe wouldn't have made it. And so you don't know which way it's going to take you, but I think having both the skill set through a formal education, the life experience through hard knocks, and all the passion, perseverance, and versatility that you can garner are the ingredients. And you need a little bit of everything in your toolkit.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to cheat because Brent, you said the magical words patent and trademark, and we do have a question that from the audience, and the question is what stage should a business idea be patented and copyrighted? And so can you chime in on kind of where when you have an idea should you pursue intellectual property protection? And then this will be.
Right. And in my case, I've had an airplane business, a car company. Every one of them had intense intellectual property and property protection, legality type of issues to deal with that I wanted to protect. In the business that I've started now, the right time to copyright the name, which is critical, and I won't trademark the name is before anybody hears about it, because that name is really important, is an important element of how I'm going to brand and market the service. It's just, it has a cool factor. Once it gets out of the gate, you're not going to, I need it right away. But most businesses aren't that way. I've had the businesses where, you have to, you really build that trademarking and copywriting as a concurrent discipline and things that go on as the business progresses, as you develop new intellectual property. That's much more common. Besides, trademarking and paying lawyers is expensive. So typically it's down the path. It's typically while you've really validated that this is a real business. Why spend money on things that don't have any return unless the business is successful until you know that the business is successful? So typically wait. If the name and the URL and those things are essential to what you're delivering, then you need to do that upfront.
Right. Thank you. For the person that asked that question, there's also an organization. It's a fairly new organization. It's called the Georgia Intellectual Property Alliance, and they are a great resource for people for entrepreneurs that are starting businesses, particularly students. They're really focusing on students, and so they have webinars and are just they're building a resource platform. So check that out. It's JIPA for short, GIPA. But it's the Georgia Intellectual Property Alliance is a great new resource that we have in the Atlanta metro area in Georgia together. So,
and I would encourage everybody that's reach out to Jennifer's group. You can obviously reach out to me and any one of the others on LinkedIn if you want help. But Jennifer's group is specifically designed for this purpose, and certainly she can bring us in where there's specific industry questions or you want to look at your business model. Jennifer and I are helping a lot of the students that are in some of the programs that she offers now review their business models, make them better, and so we're happy to offer that to you because to Chip's point, ask for help. People love to help.
That's true. That's right. Don't be afraid to ask for help, practice perseverance, build your network, find a mentor. Those are all really important lessons learned out of today's webinar. So I want to say thank you once again, Brent, Nicole, and Chip. This was fantastic and a fun discussion, and I think we could probably go on for a while longer. And we have still most of our attendees with us, and so I guess we did something right. But as Brent said, please feel free to follow up with myself and the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute. I think we have a slide, maybe George, with our social media handles. But again, our website is eni.gsu.edu, and you can find me and the rest of the ENI team there. And then also be on the lookout, as Nicole pointed out, we send out a lot of emails and messages on social media about all of the things that are going on to support entrepreneurship and innovation. And we have another virtual event coming up on July 15th from idea to MVP with Michael Sangbush. So we would love for you to join us then. Thank you once again to Karen Hudson and the CASA team for helping us organize this. And again, to all of our panelists. I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon and rest of the week.
And Jennifer, just a closing for the CASA group, because I do work there as well with Karen, is that if people need help with their applications and all that other stuff, we're available. And that's what CASA was started for 2.5 years ago, was to make sure that the Georgia State students and other students that are interested in coming to Georgia State have access to get your essay looked at, to have access to GRE programs, to have free GRE programs to help you study for the test, and also meet all these wonderful people right here in connection with E&I.
An excellent resource. So make sure we use it. As Nicole pointed out, you don't those things don't come free when you're are not a student anymore. So so yeah, be sure to use the resources available to you. So, okay, thanks once again, everyone.